was, what do you say? If you see something, say something. That's what they always say to the kids. Always impacting other people's lives. That's why it's so hard for me to imagine. But I think in talking with friends, they're like, how could I not see it? I have a really close friend who, her daughter was the captain of a soccer team. She played varsity, goalie at high school. My boys went to school with her, same high school. And she was popular, everything, in her freshman year. Father was a sheriff for LA County. Wow. And mom was the team mom and had a brother, seemed really popular, really happy. Went up one morning while everybody was eating breakfast and shot herself. Wow. With her dad's gun. He was getting ready to leave, took it out of the safe and was going to go up and get it and leave. And she went up there first.
Oh my gosh.
And they had no idea that she was depressed. And through a lot of studies, she runs a nonprofit of her own she created. And what they found, because she goes into the schools, she has a team that goes into schools, and they do presentations to the high school students and junior highs. And what they found was, what do you say? If you see something, say something. That's what they always say to the kids. And all of her friends knew she was depressed.
Oh, wow.
And she said, why didn't you tell me? Oh, we thought it was nothing. We thought she was just,
But her parents didn't know.
No.
She didn't tell them.
Never told them. Never even expressed it. When she was around her parents, she acted different. And same with her brother. Her brother had no clue. People the closest, you just can't imagine. And the grief that she felt. How could I not know my own daughter's feeling that way? So really, making sure people, if they see it, tell the parents, tell the siblings. I was over at my grandparents' house once, twice a week. When I was there, they were happy. Had no clue.
Right.
Did you experience that?
No, Bill was, we suspect he was on the spectrum. And he lost his 15-year-old dog, and he never had children. He and his partner were together since high school, and lost his dog, and he just went into this huge depression, and there was no pulling him out of it. And and they did it together. His partner couldn't live without him.
So they did it together as well as your grandparents.
Yeah, they did it together, and he tried unsuccessfully a few times. One time was the day after my birthday. And they asphyxiated themselves in their car, which with new cars, that's incredibly difficult to do. But he had a 150 IQ, so he was trying to figure it out, and they finally got it. But he kept texting me, and he wasn't very good with the phone or anything like that, and kept texting me saying, have Dad come by and check on the dogs for me, which I thought was weird. And then I would get a message in the morning. 2 times I got a message, oh, never mind, everything, we're fine. And then the 3rd time, I called my dad and I said, something's really weird, something's up. Can you just go by and check? And he goes, oh, they're just, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. And that was when it was successful. And a week later, the police were at my dad's door and they let him know. And then he called me.
Wow.
But it was pretty, and that was horrific.
And you were close with them?
Oh, yeah, 2 years apart, and, you know, we were latchkey kids together.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm the older sister, so I always took care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I carried a lot of guilt, but it's just been in the last year or so that I've been able to say, short of calling the cops every week saying, can you do a welfare check?
Mm-hmm.
He was going to do it. There was no stopping him. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that my grandfather had mental illness.
Okay.
So he was manic depressive, and he also saw things. He saw things that weren't there.
Okay.
And how I figured that out was I used to go and spend days with them. So I would go in a car, and we would go down to Dana Point Harbor with them, and then he would be going on the wrong side of the road, and I'd say, we're on the wrong side of the road. And he'd say, oh no, we're trying to get away from the people chasing us. And there was no one chasing us.
Okay.
And so she always covered for him. Oh, he's just having a moment, you know, oh, he's this. But she was the best cook, best of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Always happy. So when they did this together, and so when this happened, my mom was angry till my mom's own death. She was so angry at my grandmother, and because that's all she had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She didn't have any other relatives or anything.
Mm.
And I don't think she ever got over it, you know.
Yeah.
And it was so hard. I kept saying, you know, they were getting up in years. Maybe they didn't want to be living this life. But it wasn't like they didn't have a good life. They had a great life. But I think they just got where they wanted somebody to be with them all the time. And this was at a time and a season in their life where, you know, there weren't senior activities like there are today,
Right.
you know, where you could go to senior centers
Mm-hmm.
and play bingo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing like that then. You know, their activities were going to the beauty salon, you know, whatever. That was their thing. And it just got where my mom went on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays for lunch at her house. I went Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then on Sundays I would go visit. But I had two other sisters, but they didn't go as often, and I think they expected everybody to come all the time. And not everybody went, like my mom and I. And
So if you weren't with them, they were alone, and they were lonely.
they felt very alone,
Mm-hmm.
and they needed to have attention. And they just said, you know,
We're good.
we're good.
It's been a nice life.
It's
Yeah.
been a nice life.
Wow.
And they, in their letter, they said, we just don't want to be a burden on anyone anymore. And they weren't ever a burden,
Yeah.
which also made you feel horrible,
Right.
which kind of upset me because they were never a burden. They were only a joy.
Mm.
So that made you feel. But I don't carry guilt anymore. I did initially, but I didn't, because I've always tried to live my life with no regrets, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, but I know my mom was angry. Everybody handles things differently, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Lisa did the same. She took medicine, but she was alone.
Mm-hmm.
She went on Labor Day. She checked into a hotel in Boston at the airport,
Oh,
knowing that
boy.
they wouldn't find her until the next day, knowing that she would succeed this time because she had tried a couple other times before.
They had never tried.
She had tried a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing, because I think people that do this often do try multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we found them
Oh.
together.
Wow.
And it was shocking. I'll never get that out of my mind.
Oh, no.
Take it to the grave. And so for me, when I came to the Priority Center, I thought, wow, you know, I thought it was, at that time, it was the Child Abuse Prevention Center, and I had no idea we were dealing with, you know, mental health and crisis like this. And I was amazed. And it was interesting to me that we were working with this population, because there's such a critical need because, you know, people that are at risk or struggling and thinking about trying it, and you know, I can't tell you how many people I know. I mean, at another role when I was running the foundation, my right arm person got a call or a text from her sister saying goodbye. And we jumped in the car and we stopped her.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. She had already tried. Slit her wrist. So, you know, it's like, that's just someone I know.
Right.
You know, and you think about it, you start talking to people, but most people don't want to talk about it because it's a dark side of life, and they're ashamed, or they're embarrassed, or they can't believe it's happened, but it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think for me, being able to talk about it is healing.
Mm-hmm.
It helps me. Not that I want to go there again, not that you know, but my grandmother was like my role model. She was everything to me. Mm-hmm. She's how I got into this field, believe it or not. So I don't ever want to forget her.
Right.
You know, and your brother was so important to you.
Oh, yeah.
Despite the ending of what happened to them. And Lisa was your close friend.
Best friend.
Yeah.
Best friend.
So I choose to remember the good things, treasure those, and not feel guilty that I wasn't there to stop it, because I don't think we could have stopped it.
No.
I really don't.
That's what I came to terms with, is there was nothing I could have done.
No, because...
She had tried several times.
Yeah.
And, you know, ultimately she wanted to succeed. So she did tell her mother, and it was around that time, that she didn't want to ruin my wedding. I know, but she was also manic depressive, which is bipolar now.
Yeah.
But I only ever saw the manic side. She hid the depression side. You know, as my best friend, we were all about the fun, and the suffering was the stuff that she shared with her parents. They had to deal with all that, but she protected everybody around her from it. So again, it's like your grandparents. It's the ultimate sacrifice. Like, I don't want to ruin your wedding. I don't know. I can't wrap my brain around that, but
Yeah, with my brother, I mean, it was truly mental illness. They were hoarders. They, I found his dog's fur. He was collecting his dog's fur and putting it places, different places in the house.
Wow.
I mean, there was clearly, when I was cleaning out the house, I was like, okay.
Well, I think that if there is a story to be told, or a teachable moment for Lisa, she was so young. She was only 23. And I think that she had suffered for a long time with mental illness and did not share it with anybody but her immediate family, because her friends didn't know at all. And I just, I think the message, I'm losing my thoughts right now, in the moment of thinking of her, was, you know, to ask the questions, like you said before, to try to see the signs, which, you know, which we didn't. I don't know.
Because you were experiencing her in the manic side.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were having fun with her.
Yes.
And so you couldn't even imagine the other side.
Right. But I think that if I'm trying to put myself in her position, I think that her side of it was, And we see this with kids today.
Yes.
You know, it's you're supposed to live your life on this schedule. You're going to graduate. You're going to go to college. You're going to, you know, get your first job. You're going to meet your future spouse when you're in college, and then you're going to get married and go on. And she had seen all of her friends follow that path, but she was delayed. She took a year off after high school because she was trying to figure out what she wanted to do. She wanted to be a vet. School wasn't going particularly well. She wasn't, you know, getting the A's that she would need to get into vet school. So I think from a parent's perspective, if you see your kids trying to measure themselves against other people, maybe not living up, maybe the cues that we can take from this is say, you do you, we're not on the same schedule, you know, and not that my children have ever been suicidal, but as a parent, I say things like, not everybody's on the schedule. You do you. I try to bring in things in my life like, oh, I didn't do well in this. I didn't always get A's. I had this. I mean, Dave's perfect because everything he ever did was perfect, straight A's. But I'm like, oh no, I got a D in that class and I had to retake it. Oh no, I got a bad grade there. You know, I mean, my son's 25 now and he's like, I should have a college degree. You know, I have my college degree, but I should be working by now. I was already changing careers when I was in your age, and so was your father. He was getting out of the military and he was starting law school. You were the same transition that we were. He's like, really? Oh, yeah. So you have to just try to say, you know, you can't live your life by what everybody else is doing by some formula. So I don't know that there was anything her parents could do about this, but I think as parents, if that's something that we can tell our kids so they don't feel like, you know, I'm never going to reach my goals. I'm never going to be what I wanted to be. She loved animals. She was going to be a vet. That's never going to happen for me.
Right.
Okay, well, but there are other things. You know, she could have, you know, run a nonprofit for animals. There are any number of things that she could have done.
A rescue center.
Right.
Anything like that.
Yeah. I think there's so much. I think the social media in today's society puts so much pressure on kids today and families. I don't think people realize how that affects kids. And there's bullying that goes on.
I'm not living the perfect life. I don't look, I'm like the perfect size whatever.
Yes.
Or have the perfect boyfriend or
That's
anything like that.
It's a lot of pressure. And I think as a result, they internalize or fantasize what their life's supposed to be. And as a result, it causes them to be so depressed, and they don't share it with anyone.
Well, her first suicide attempt was the month that I moved from Boston to California, because I had just graduated. I was starting the job. I moved 3,000 miles away, and that's when I got the phone call from her father. Lisa is not following you to San Diego. She's not going to work at the zoo. We need to keep her here. We need to keep her safe. What's going on? He told me what was going on. And they had means. They had all the money in the world to throw at this problem. And it was about a year later. She said, no, I'm done. Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes just, you know, I think a lot of change has to occur in society, and, you know, the mental health stigma just has to go away, because so many people need help that if they get it early on, maybe they wouldn't get to that point. Or you would hope they wouldn't get to that point. You know, how many people could be saved if they got the mental health care they needed right away?
That are worth saving.
Yeah.
Everyone's worth.
Her life was so
Everybody's worth
precious.
it.
She had so many people who loved her and missed her, and the collateral damage that happens when somebody leaves us.
Yeah.
I just want to be selfish. I don't want them to decide that they want to leave on their terms.
That's what my mom used to say.
Grow old like the rest of us, and go through life struggles, and maybe get that D in that class, or maybe have a fight with your spouse, or maybe have your kids drive you crazy. Like, you got out of all this, and you weren't here for me, and you weren't there when I needed somebody to talk to on the phone about, hey, my kid is keeping me up at night, or he's driving me crazy. So I want to be selfish. So I want to prevent this. I don't want other people to have to go through this.
Yes.
Because we're the survivors. We're the ones that are left behind, missing them.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why talking about it and talking to others that have gone through it or experienced it, we're the ones that are left in the wake.
Yeah. That's
know,
why I think prevention is so important. Like,
absolutely.
I'm not so perfect. You think your dad and I are so perfect. These are the things that we've gone through before. I was already in my 3rd career by the time I was, 5 years older than you, or all the life changes that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
Or when they're struggling with something and they're frustrated and they're really upset about something, I said, can we not do dead? Because they know about her and they know her story and they know how it affected me. How are you feeling emotionally? How are you right now? Well, I'm really not in a good place right now. But can we agree we're never going to do dead? Yes, we can agree we're not going to do dead. Okay. Sorry. You can add that in the parenting skills box if you want.
Yeah.
So far, it's worked.
I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
I think
sat
people-
my kids down.
I think it's hard to step out and say things like that,
Mhm.
but you have to,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because I think there's an arsenal. I think there are times that kids think that way.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's just easier. It's kind of like a marriage or anything else, a relationship, a friendship. It's easier to walk away than it is to work at it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why divorce is so
Right.
prevalent.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a lot to stick it out and to work at a marriage.
Mhm.
It takes a lot to really fight for something, but that's what makes marriage special, I think. I think that, life isn't always easy,
Mm-hmm.
and, it's worth fighting for. The big potholes in life, the big trenches that we have to climb through and climb out of, you're not always going to have someone right by your side to help you through it, but you have to find the wherewithal to get through it. But it is important, and if you need help, there's help out there. The Priority Center is there. We'll do whatever it takes. I think one of the things that I absolutely love about the Priority Center is the peer mentor component. And it's probably one of the most well received, almost more than therapists and the case management and clinical piece, is that having someone come alongside the clinical piece, but it's someone who's walked a mile in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you say, can we not do dead?
Mm-hmm.
That's what a peer mentor does. They latch on to a peer mentor because that peer mentor has done it,
Right.
tried it,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and realized, I don't need to do dead,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
I can do life
Mm-hmm.
and succeed. And so Priority Center has, in our adult crisis program, we have a peer mentor, and he's spectacular. He's amazing. And he's shared incredible stories of, and the first person, when they are maybe on the verge of going on a hold in a hospital,
Right.
they ask for the peer mentor. They don't ask for their therapist. They don't ask for their clinician. They want the peer mentor there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the peer mentor's like, dude, you don't want to do it. You don't want to take your life. I'm telling you, I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
You think they're going to listen to the therapist? They're going to listen to the peer mentor
Yeah.
who's living, breathing right now.
Right. Right.
And that's been a great thing, to have a peer mentor. And I think that that's becoming a recognized strong platform in therapy today, having peer mentors come alongside case management and clinical therapy.
That sounds like something that would have helped her, because she had her friends that were living the life that she thought she was supposed to be living
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and not. And then she had her parents who, your parents love you unconditionally, but
Yeah.
but they can't always supply, what you need, certainly.
Mhm. But having someone there that's,
Mm-hmm.
and then in our children's crisis program, what's amazing about that is we have parents that have been through this before.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens to a family is, if your child goes through that, you become a helicopter parent, and you cannot release
Mm-mm.
anything. You hover, and you don't want that child to ever leave your sight. You cannot ever trust them with anything because you think they're going to do it again.
Right.
But having parents that have been through it, coach those parents and say, you have to trust. And this is how you do it, is phenomenal. And so the programs that we run are ultimately preventative and are wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah, they really are.
I think we could talk a little bit about stigma. I think,
Yeah.
I know for me, for a lot of people, they, when they battle depression,
Right.
they, well, I can tell you that I have battled depression in my life, and people are shocked when I say that. They're like, you? No.
Everybody has, right?
But, you know, I think because of life, you know, you struggle. And for me, it was a chemical imbalance in my brain. And so I had to go on medication. And I tried to go off of it. And my doctor said, you probably will never go off of it. Well, that really didn't feel right to me either. How could you tell me I'm going to be on it for the rest of my life? But in trying to go off of it, I realized that you can't just go off of it either, right? So I learned a lot when I was younger, you know, in my late 20s, 30s. But I think the stigma, you know, not wanting to admit that I was battling with that and then accepting it, and educating people on that. You know, there are a lot of people that say, oh, everybody says they're depressed. Well, what does that really mean? You know, and just get over it. Well,
Right.
You can't just get over it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That-
Shake it off.
Yeah.
Shake it off.
Yeah. Go exercise.
Yeah.
Or eat better or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, that infuriated me. And my spouse was one that said that. Didn't believe in therapy. Didn't believe in any of that. And it's like, that's not supportive,
No.
you know? So, but I think there's a lot of people out there that think that way. So just modeling that behavior to my own children, just like you said to your sons, it's really important that they know that, and everyone knows, you know, just, and you don't have to thump them with your thoughts,
Right.
but just, you know, it's okay. If you're feeling down, it's okay. And, you know, if you want to talk about it, I'm here. And I think with whoever, if you see someone really down, to be there for them. Because we don't know what's going on in their lives,
Right.
Right.
especially at work.
Right.
There's been a lot of times, if you just take a moment to be there for someone, you never know what's going to come out.
Right.
And it's important. It's very important. So I have experienced a lot of stuff coming out, and it has broken my heart when I've seen it. But you need to be prepared for whatever comes out.
We're
And-
not mental health professionals
No.
either.
No.
Never
No.
taken a class, not even in psychology. Not
Never.
medically trained, but being a good listener.
Mhm.
Not everything is one size fits all.
That's right.
So sometimes my sons are frustrated and I go, you know, I just want you to, I'll say things like, I want you to be happy. No, let me change that. I want you to do what you want to do. Be who you want to be. You don't have to, if happiness isn't for you and it's not for everybody, then don't be happy. You know what I mean? I know it sounds really weird, but you do you. We're here to listen, advise if you want. You know, ask how they're feeling in a particular situation. Am I a listener or am I an advisor right now? I do that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, am I listening? Am I advising?
Yeah.
Usually they'll say advising is okay, but listening is okay. I don't know.
Well, even if somebody's just yelling at you, or they're just angry in general,
Mm-hmm.
or they say something hurtful, you can just, it's as simple as saying, "Are you okay?"
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that might open up a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
It usually does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's usually a reason why someone's doing that.
Oh, yeah.
I have found. Yep.